Hello, I'm Dr. Michael Kessler, and I want to welcome you to Genius Genetic Nutritional Analysis. And most of you out there, I think, know me from judo, but most of you don't know what I've been doing over the last many years. And what I've been doing is helping people resolve unresolved issues as far as their health goes, or problems that they haven't been able to figure out. The way I do this is I design a custom program for that individual using biochemistry, genetics, and looking at the environment. When I talk about the environment, I'm talking about, diet, exercise, and those kind of basic things that we need to do to just be healthy, right? And before I get started, I got to give you the disclaimer here. So Health Detectives Toolkit, which is our company, is designed to evaluate lifestyle and nutritional imbalances affecting function. We utilize targeted nutrients to improve function. We do not treat disease or diagnose. This is the realm of your medical doctor whose license allows for this. If you wish to get treated for a specific disease, you need to seek the advice of a medical doctor. What we do is we're trying to customize a program that's individualized for you, because one size does not fit all. And so here we have all three of these people with different conditions. Maybe they have been diagnosed with something like rheumatoid or lupus or whatever it may be. But the causes for each of these individuals is going to be different. So in this first person here, they've been exposed to mold toxins. Mold is colonizing in their body. Or maybe they have SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, where bacteria that belongs in the compartment of the large intestine goes into the small intestine and creates havoc. Or maybe they've been exposed or they've been eating sugar and they've created a terrain or environment in their body for candida overgrowth. So that particular fungus is growing and it's invasive. And all these things, including dysbiosis, which really means that the bacteria that lives in your gut is out of balance and the good guys are kind of down regulated where the bad guys are taking over the ship. And all these guys, whether we're talking about mold or candida or abnormal bacterial overgrowth, they all produce waste. And that waste is toxic to the body, especially the brain, by the way. And it's very important to be able to lower the dysbiotic or the candida or the abnormal bacterial overgrowth and to be able to bind those toxins and get them out of the body in a safe way. We also know that, let's say if you have candida overgrowth or you have mold inside your body, they can produce something called calcium oxalates. Some of you know that because you had kidney stones, calcium oxalate stones, but they can form in all sorts of joints and arteries in the lungs, and the cause, again, coming from maybe the candida or the mold. So maybe that's the cause, and that's the area that needs to be dealt with. Maybe in the second person here, they're having a toxic effect from mercury, from their dental amalgams in their teeth, or maybe they have a dental problem going on with an infection that's insidious and over time is lowering and affecting their immune system. Maybe this person has something called increased homocysteine. Now, a lot of you haven't heard of that, but everybody should have a blood test where they look at that. It's the most toxic biochemical that we produce, and we produce that when we are repairing our DNA and our cells with a process called methylation. And if homocysteine builds up because we have a mutation in a specific gene, which 35% of the population has, where they're not able to use their methylfolate to repair their genes and to do this process called methylation, then homocysteine can build up and cause, like I said, dementia, strokes, heart attacks, and those kind of things. And it's so easy to fix with methylfolate, methyl B12, B6, and turn that back into something that's really useful for the body so we could methylate again. Some of you can't make one of the big protectors of the body, this molecule called nitric oxide, which prevents atherosclerosis and vasodilates your arteries to get blood flow to your heart and to all the areas of your body, right? And so that is also usually an easy fix, and we see some of that when we're doing our functional genetic testing, and then combining that with some of the other tests that we run. This third person just is fatigued all the time because they have mutations and they're not able to break down their fats when they eat, their proteins and carbohydrates, and turn that into energy, the fuel source for the body, which we call ATP. The other area that we look at is the foods. And some people are eating lots of histaminic foods and they're having lots of inflammatory things going on. So there's some of the folks out there who feel like their sinuses are inflamed and they have maybe respiratory things going on, or some things that are happening with their skin, and maybe they can't break down the histamine in histaminic foods that are high in histamine because they're missing an enzyme that we see when we're doing the genetic testing called DAO. And some people are sensitive to gluten. And sometimes, even if you don't have celiac disease, gluten is still a major problem and affects our intestinal villi, where we absorb into our bloodstream all the nutrients and good things that we need, and it injures that microvilli in there and also causes something called leaky gut. And these gluten proteins get into the blood and we form immune complexes, and we form really inflammatory, what we call cytokines, chemicals that can get past the blood-brain barrier into the brain, causing inflammation even in the brain. So just because you don't have gut problems or exacerbations or problems in the gut, the gluten could cause problems elsewhere in the body. Something important to know. So what we need is really a health detective. We need somebody who can look and take the time to look through your body and figure out where these imbalances are. So we look at two things. We look at the environment, which is diet, exercise, mental and emotional stress, toxic exposure, etc. And we look at your genetic mutations. And when we have problems with specific genes that control specific enzymes in our body that regulate specific biochemical pathways, if you have a genetic mutation, say from both parents, in a specific enzyme that produces a specific enzyme, that enzyme is going to function 70%, if it's from both parents, less efficient, for example. You combine that with the lifestyle factors and you might have decreased lifespan, decreased cognitive function, decreased ability to detoxify toxins, decreased immune function, increased cardiovascular issues, increased pain and inflammation, increased GI dysfunction, or altered mood and life experience. So when we look at the DNA, it's really important to do some testing to figure out what's going on, and your DNA controls virtually everything about you, your height, your color, etc., right? Your DNA controls how your body clears toxic substances. Your DNA controls how effectively you can make the critical antioxidants needed to neutralize damaging free radicals that cause inflammation. Because with all health issues, it's the inflammation that's damaging and is causing problems and producing these free radicals that are damaging our cells. So nutritional DNA testing is related to using your DNA information to determine how you can supplement and compensate for nutritional deficiencies that are the result of your inherited DNA. So we're looking for where the weaknesses are and bypassing these things nutritionally. And we're confirming whether those genes are active by using something called an oat test. Are they? And so here's the oat test. The oat test is kind of the exhaust for your body. So when your body performs work, we can get a snapshot of your metabolism by looking at your body's exhaust. This is done by analyzing your urine. Different metabolites will show up if you don't completely break down your fats, proteins, and carbs. And this is really common, by the way. And we find that a lot of people are having problems breaking down their macronutrients because they have to break that down and get that into the cell, into a special place in the cell called the mitochondria to produce energy. And sometimes that's just not happening. And again, that's why patients are fatigued. Some of these metabolites are coming from overgrowth of fungal yeast or bacterial species in the gut. And we can see that on this oat test. Some of the metabolites will tell us if you have the superheroes of the body that protect your cells by detoxifying toxins and protecting your body from free radicals. One of the main fighters, our superheroes, is something called glutathione. And the less glutathione you have, the less lifespan you're going to have. Glutathione is incredibly important. These free radicals come from the body producing energy from your foods or toxins. So that's where these free radicals are, coming from, again, from your food or from toxins. And those are the things that are damaging your cells and your DNA. And so what we want to do is when we look at the genetics, we can see how all the protectors of your body are working to reduce that toxic load and reduce those free radicals. And we can look at the balance there. They cause you to rust, these free radicals, from the inside out and damage your fats that make up your cell membranes and DNA. And so if you're damaging your cells, your cell membranes that get damaged, they're kind of the intelligence that runs the show. That's not your nucleus in the center of your cell called the DNA, but what tells the DNA what to make and what to do is the cell membrane. It's scoping the whole environment in your body, and all the hormone receptors are there. And if that cell membrane is inflamed and it's not working properly, then that information is not getting to where it needs to go to tell the DNA what to make those special proteins. And the hormones are not going to work really well because those receptors on the outside of the cell are not working, on and on and on. And toxins are not able to get out of the cell and nutrients into the cell if you have an inflamed cell membrane. That's kind of one of the big things that we want to work on probably first. From your exhaust, we can tell if you are producing adequate neurotransmitters or what we call mood chemicals that control your mood. How is your energy running? Is your body able to produce the master fuel called ATP from your food to fuel your body, which we just talked about? Is that happening? So this test will also tell us about vitamin B status and more. The oat will tell us about inborn errors of metabolism, such as the oxalates that can cause kidney stones and other health problems that we talked about, and a lot more, by the way. So this is kind of smooth sailing. It's kind of easy to get started if you want to investigate and figure out what's going on with your health. So step 1, we either Skype or talk on the phone. Step 2, you give me permission to order the tests. Step 3, I review all tests and set up an individual program for you. The good news, it is highly affordable. It is your best health insurance policy. So if you're interested in this, just give me a call, 415-646-6112. There's my email, and we're looking forward to connecting with you and seeing if we can help you. Thank you for listening.